I've been there, northern kid, you get shipped to the grandparents in the South in summer. So that's what I did, and heard plenty of stories from my World
Mhm.
War II vet granddaddy who grew up in Mississippi, and would tell me,
Okay.
about the time. So unless you were balling like that,
Mhm.
um, or running a juke joint like that, you didn't
Mhm.
have a car like that, let alone this, young man driving it who looked like he had been through literally a night of absolute hell. And
Mhm.
when he goes into the church, where what they do, what what Coogler does was showing us forward flashbacks of what's going to
Mhm.
happen, or what Preacher Boy is seeing, because you're like, Yeah, he's seen some stuff." I love the way where they cut it off, the ambiguity, because I'm just like, I really don't feel too good about that. I don't know what's I don't know what's gonna happen. But I loved how that scene was set up. And
Mhm.
that is the hook when you do it. That why should I keep watching? Why should I be interested in watching? Do I care enough about this character to keep watching? Yes, this scene
The
right
church
here,
scene.
this is in your typical. I've been in churches like this. There's no AC. All you got are fans.
Got the
Um,
fan, yeah.
Everybody's in their best dress. There's,
Uh-huh.
holes in the rafters in the church. And he comes walking in like that. And
Yeah.
I just thought this was perfectly set up, especially when you have everybody in there, like in white. And it
Mhm.
was it was
Okay.
just perfect.
I
It was
just
just absolutely perfect.
a lot of different scenes, Lorena, because I had to go back. I saw it twice. I have to go back and see this again because the visual storytelling isn't, it is really what it is. Like you mentioned, how they're dressed, the angle of the cameras, everything that he's trying to capture. Cougar's telling the story like every scene. It's really insane. What we're getting, and then you get the religious aspect, right?
Mhm.
Where I was wondering how, because the film's called Sinners, the film's called Sinners, right? So I
Yes.
was wondering how Cougar was going to play that because I'm like, okay, like, hey, art is art, so people express yourself for sure. I was just wondering, I was like, is he going to kind of diss the church a little bit here? But it fit right with the storytelling, where music, people say supposedly as demonic in certain types of music, right? And it's influenced by the devil, and so that's one thing. And so he has that parallel. The beginning of the scene, or the beginning of the movie, as you mentioned, he's holding that piece of the guitar, and his dad's like, let go of the music, or let go of the demonic influences, and you're in a church. It's a very interesting scene, just in the theaters with that. And I don't think it disrespects religion at all, with that. And I like that flash forward thing because it flashes different scenes from the previous night, and you're like, okay, what just went down? Like this, this young man's face is scratched up, and what are we in for, right, for this film? So that was a good setup
Yeah, especially
overall
when
for
oh, sorry, I'm interrupting. I must say, especially
it.
when the preacher says, you know, put the guitar down, son. And it's not like he dropped it. He's just like, just put the guitar down. So you already know there's really some stuff that's about to drop. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I thought
Great,
that was
great
awesome.
setup.
Mhm.
Definitely great setup to this film. And so it flashes back to the day before. And so I'm thinking to myself, okay, everybody's gonna die. Like,
Yeah.
okay, everybody's dead. Like, let's just see the massacre. Okay, Cougar, right? And
Mhm.
we set up with these twins, the smoking stack twins. Now,
Yep.
I tell you, I was already a fan of Michael B. Jordan. So I knew he was gonna bring it with this role. He legit is playing two different roles. Like this ain't just we're twins and we just got a few characteristics differently. No, these are two very different roles at the same time. This could be a play to how Cougar set this up.
Mhm.
Um, how long did it take you? I'll just say like this: when you see the first scene with him, I'm like, okay, 2 Michael B. Jordans. Okay, this is a novelty. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
okay, you know. It did. Then once they split up, which was very smart by Coogler. My goodness, just the choices he made in this film, it was very smart. You see the twins, they split up, and you automatically get the different personalities. Like it only took me 2 scenes. I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
see the 2 different characters. What did you
You know,
think of just how they executed that?
I think they executed that very well because at first I thought it was a different actor. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Wait, that's the same guy.
Mhm.
But his acting chops are so good, Michael B. Jordan, that I doubted what I was seeing. I thought they were 2 separate people. He plays them with 2 different attitudes. And it's just downright, it's just
Mhm.
downright perfect. I thought that was genius, and that takes a lot of acting talent to pull over to make us believe that it's not just Michael B. Jordan times 2, that it's
Mhm.
Michael B. Jordan playing 2 different characters. It's like he's split, into 2 people. It's kind of like in oh my gosh, I'm blanking on what that Christopher. Oh my gosh, it was a Christopher Nolan film. And I'm blanking on what
Mm.
the heck it was. The one with time travel
Oh,
going backwards.
Interstellar?
No, it wasn't
Not that.
Interstellar. It came out in 2020. I might have the wrong Nolan brother, but man,
Let's see. No,
don't don't
I gotta know this now.
don't pull my film card, please. Okay?
But
Because
we're just off the top of the dome here, so people know we don't
yeah,
research. But
Tenet.
it's
Okay, Tenet. Okay,
oh,
Tenet.
10.
All
Okay,
right.
okay. I didn't know where you was
You
going with that one.
had
Okay.
oh gosh, Denzel Washington's son. There was literally scenes with him fighting himself.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Well, John David
Mhm.
Washington,
Yes.
some of the best scenes, yeah, was that was probably the best scene in the film when he had him fighting himself. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what impressed me for the most
Mhm.
part. That you the same actor, but you see 2 distinct roles. It's not like he phoned it in. It's just like, yeah, this is just me playing another character, blah, 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 whatever. Just
Right.
this emotion, especially between and it's funny because I'm forgetting which one is which, but the one where he went back home and he went to the grave of his baby.
Yeah, that was Smoke. So that Smoke's in the blue. He's a more somber one, and then
Yeah, he's the more
Stack is
somber
the
one.
happy one. Yeah.
Yeah. Stack is that no filter, let's go out and do it. Yeah, type of
He trusts
type of
everybody.
guy.
Like, and this like because we'll get to the destinies of these characters. Like, it makes so much sense how their journeys went in this film. It makes so much sense because of their
Mhm.
characteristics.
It so did. It so did. Wow.
Uh, with and with Smoke and Stack, let me the film is mostly about them and then their cousin Sammy, the artist, who Miles Caton, I believe is his name. This was his
Mhm.
first role.
Wow.
Uh and he was sitting there with with a juggernaut, Michael B. Jordan playing 2 different roles and
Mhm.
just the cast overall. Um Great job by Miles Caton. He's going to get plenty of work after this film, but largely the day was told, as far as with the twins, and I just like the dialogue. Um, they was up north doing no good. Coming up there with all this
Mhm.
money. And you like, okay, and they kind of mentioned they was in the, I think it was Chicago area, so they, was ripped
I
off some gangs and everything.
Yeah, I think they were subcontractors for Al Capone because I heard that name
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, which
Mm-hmm.
made sense. But to give a little bit of historical context to some folks who may not understand, in the 1920s, there were a lot of Black folks who left the South because they didn't want to deal with Jim Crow laws, and they went north, also known as the Great Migration out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why, they came back. They had the money. They could make that type of money up north. So that's why they have the clothes that they have, because no one in Mississippi is walking around dressed like this unless it's a Sunday. Okay. But
Exactly.
yeah, so that's where these guys got their money from, and they're World War I vets. I know Smoke definitely is. And the thing
Hmm.
I had to run into is from going overseas to fight for a country that did not particularly love them back.
Hmm. And I love the setting that Kluger used with that, and appreciate the historical context, because the Jim Crow South, again, if people don't realize, obviously it was segregated. So you didn't have the blacks and whites mixing. You did have, which was interesting, you had the Chinese community in the middle of that, where
Oh.
they were just kind of not trying to get in the way, at that time, of the white folks. So they were serving black people as well, as far as restaurants and things like that. It was a very interesting angle
Mhm.
that community, and I started to see different testimonies of people from that area, descendants of that area, and they was talking about, like, yeah, we basically could do business with white folks, but we saw they weren't treating black people good, so we did business with black folks too, and so it's just interesting context,
Yeah, which is,
at the time.
yeah, it's, very historically accurate, because with the Chinese, they're in the Mississippi Delta. Some of them, because of, I think it was there was I'm blanking, I can't believe, I think there was actually a law passed that did not allow Asians to immigrate into the United States for like 10 years. It was like in the 1880s. So you
Mm,
had some Chinese men who were brought over as laborers, after slavery ended. A lot of them wound up marrying black women, and they had children that way. When the I'll say embargo, whatever, was over, and you had some Chinese families that did move to the Mississippi Delta, because they weren't really an accepted part of white society and not completely an accepted part of black society, they could move between white
mhm.
and black. Like my grandfather said, he knew that if they went to like a Chinese restaurant or like a Chinese grocery, they weren't going to get harassed. They
Exactly.
knew that. But there's a scene in this film where you see, that happen, where it's like, I will need you to go get your mother. And it said, Grace, go get your mother. She leaves, the girl leaves the market on the black side of town,
Mhm.
goes over to the white side of the street, but that
Mhm.
way, to get her mom. And then they switch places. I'm like, that was freaking genius how they did
The
that. So
shot, the
yes.
shot of that was amazing. With that Cougar used.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
why did he send her? Why doesn't, he just go over there? Well, yeah, that's how it was. And
Mhm.
it was perfect storytelling that did not hit you over the head with that.
Exactly. The camera shot, and that's what I said. Like, the shots he uses, it's like you described it. He's taking you from the black side of the street. Then you go to a restaurant and you see it's white customers,
Mm-hmm.
and he goes to the Chinese lady who ends up being, a pretty major supporting role. The lady,
Yeah,
um,
Grace.
in the film. Yeah, very very interesting choices by Cougar, and like I said, historically accurate. As far as in the South, my family, I believe as far back as my great grandfather, he was in the Missouri area, which was
Mm-hmm.
still in the Jim Crow South, and then some migrated to Illinois. You know, at that time, as you mentioned, and so we hear stories where, again, Missouri, had pretty much the same segregation that we're talking about in Mississippi here. So just the accuracy is amazing, and it's not one of them old those films where, oh, let's see just a bunch of slaves and
Mm-hmm.
oh, poor slaves. It's like, nah, like they were out there, trying to thrive and survive and build businesses, and what I mean, these were just the rules at that time, but they
Mm-hmm.
found their way around it. As you see, you come across some money, you can cut some corners out there. So that was very very interesting setup with the twins there, and again, just it sets a tone for the film. So going further in the film, you set up your well, let's go to Delroy Lindo. It's not even fair when he
Oh,
gets into a
wow.
film.
Yeah.
It's like this is going to be a good film because this man is in it. Played Delta Slim uh, in the film. What do you think
Mhm.
of his role? And because I think, man, Delroy Lindo it's like if he likes the script, he's going to tear that role up, and that's pretty much what he did in this film.
Yeah, Delroy Lindo is one of the greats, honestly. It's just like you just like to see him work. And he's that character that I would say reaches into the past just because of his age and that it was in the 1930s. It's very, very possible that his father may have been the first one of his family born free, that his
Hmm.
grandfather or father may have been a slave at that time. So
Hmm.
his character, with the way he acts, the way that he knows Smoke and Stack, the way that he knows, everybody, the way that he knows Grace, the way that he knows, oh my gosh, Haley Stenfield's character, who
Hmm.
was mixed race. Again, yes, 100% accurate. That's part of my family too. Was like that. They could either
Interesting.
pass, or sometimes if they went places, that were all black and they knew some people, they were just like, "Why is this white lady coming over here?" And somebody had said, "No, no, 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 no.
Hmm.
We know who she is." Then they said that she's family. She gets to stay. Um,
Yeah, as long as someone
his
vouched for you're like, okay, she good.
Yeah, they're like, she good. She good. Cornbread, like, I don't know, let you in here. We don't need no trouble. I love cornbread.
Real joke.
We're no trouble. But Joe Orlando, he just kills it.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
with his mannerisms, you just naturally attach, you know, um, to him in this film. And especially when you talk about the age and the era that a lot of these actors were in. I mean, Michael B. Jordan is like hot and popping, and Delroy Lindo has been in this game for a long time. So it's a pleasure
Hmm.
to see him. And I loved his character
Oh,
in
for sure.
this. I really
For
did,
sure.
especially Garlic.
The garlic scene, yeah, because I don't think he got bit. I'm like, I
I'm
don't know.
like, what but that was a good twist though,
Yep,
because what
yep,
we thought turns out it wasn't what we thought.
exactly. And like you said, he just plays a role. I like how he kind of gives a little history lesson on blues music
Mhm.
um, in the film, and that's one thing with, like I said, I think any culture, people should celebrate their culture, and we're seeing how it could be accessible to other people. It's not saying like, oh, um, this is our culture and no one else can enjoy it. It's like, no, you're seeing by the audiences, people love different cultures. They love our culture as well, and
Mhm.
especially when it's quality, when we're putting quality out there,
Yes.
that's makes it even better. And yeah, his character, like I said, just awesome supporting role, helps us kind of get to from different transitions in the film. And once they get all together, he just, he anytime he's speaking, he kind of steals whatever scene he's in.
Mhm.
To be quite honest, now you mentioned old Haley Steinfeld. There's a old Haley. This ain't the Disney princess Haley Steinfeld in this film. Now this is the first time I actually saw her as an adult. I'm gonna be quite honest, in a film like Haley.
I
Haley
know. It's like,
Steinfeld
what did
played
she
it.
just say?
I know exactly what you're talking because the first screening I was in was completely packed. The second one you probably could sit up front, the
Uh-huh.
IMAX, so
Yeah.
those go at premium. But everyone kind of, you had a few people kind of gasp, like, what she, what she saying? The first time.
Same in my theater. Like, you could hear everybody just sucking their breath. They're like, what? She said what? The pearl clutching. You could hear that.
Yeah. Right. I'm like, hey, I'm like, okay, Haley, all grown up, right? So that's all good. So her character, though, I gotta say, I was most surprised because I'm just gonna be honest, just going off of the trailers and just a little that we seen, I was like, okay. I was like, is she gonna be just kind of like this throwaway character, and like she's the reason everybody dies? You know what I'm saying? Like, just
Mm-hmm.
make her the white lady that kills everyone. But it's like, no, that story, they say it right from the jump. Oh, okay, she's half black. Um, she has a history with Stack, and it's a very
Mm-hmm.
interesting history. They Cougar plays out their backgrounds like, via dialogue. That's why I say this film feels like a play, because there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
exposition, but
Yeah.
you don't feel like it's, you know what I mean, like, oh, they're just taking us through exposition. It's like, no, you're in the moment, and they're explaining what happened. When the twins went away, he had a thing with her, but he wanted her to kind of move on with her life. And she was like, hey, my husband's corny. I ain't trying to I ain't trying to be with
I
her husband.
know. He's like, I got you a rich white husband. It's just like
She's like,
due to the way that the society was at the time. I mean, they had um a relationship. They also had like an extended family relationship because I believe her mother, if I remember correctly, I think her mother wound up nursing both of the twins
I think that's what he said. Yeah,
as
in
as a
passing.
wet nurse, and that was very, very common in the in the South at that particular time. So that's why she was so upset. It's like my mama died and you didn't even send me flowers.
All right.
Like,
So
damn,
it's like a
that's
mother to
cold.
them.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So that was her character. Definitely, it was a good part of the story. And like I said, I should know better. Cougar's not going to do throwaway characters. And she was perfect. She was perfect for the role. In it. And again, we see how the story ends. It's kind of a like it's
Yeah.
ambiguous how you feel about it. And we could talk spoilers. It's okay. But it's like they end up happily ever after, I guess.
Yeah, in this like really twisted way. Stay mid credits, folks. You do not want to miss that. But yeah, it's just
Mhm.
kind of like I don't know how I I don't know how I feel about this, but okay.
It's like, I like how Cougar, he just presents it. He's like, I'm not gonna give you the answers. Just these are the events, right? How
Mhm.
does it land with you? You know what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
interesting story arc with these two right here in the
Yeah.
film overall. Now let me get to, I think the scene, it's very few times, Lorena, that I'm in a film. I'm trying to think of just, my short time on this earth. I'm trying to think of moments where I'm in a theater and I'm just like, what did I just see? Like, what am I experiencing right now? Like, I can't really think of like supreme times where I had to kind of stop and look around like, what am I, and what am I saying? Is this scene here, the music scene, right? They start the music scene and they're in the juke joint there. They got the party started.
Mhm.
And the Sammy character starts, because they keep saying, like, oh, this boy could play, then they hyping him up. So I'm like, okay, this better be the best song I ever heard if y'all keep hyping this dude up. And
Mhm.
it's a really good song and great performance, but it opens up like this almost supernatural time travel thing where you see music of the past reuniting with what he's doing, and then it's opening up the future of
Mhm.
music as well. And I'm blown away. So I saw it on both regular screen and IMAX. So you didn't miss too much. Like, definitely you want to see it in IMAX, but if you saw it in standard format or high definition format, you still got this scene. You still feel it. And I had no idea what I was seeing right now. I was like, this is a very unique experience in a film. I don't know what Cougar just did, how to even define it, but I think he's gonna get an Oscar just because of this scene. I'll be quite honest.
I would agree. It is what I believe in cinema terms is known as the long shot. And those are very difficult to do. If you pull them off, it's amazing. because you should have one continuous experience. If you notice, if you remember, the camera did not stop with this
Hmm.
scene. Started with Preacher Boy, and then as the music just started to get more and more intense, you started going through the crowd, seeing how different people were reacting to it. And then when they started talking about, you know, music in the future, I mean, you had like Jimi Hendrix, you had
Hmm.
that, you had, rap music, you had them with the turntables, you also saw them going into the past with dances with dances in
Hmm.
Africa. They pulled, further around, and when they got to like Grace and her husband, the Chinese couple, they also had the dancers from then doing like some of the Chinese dances. So you
Hmm.
saw them as well. And then how all of that music started to like meld and separate and meld back again. That there's only one shot that I would say was even better than this. I bet you know which one it is too.
I'm trying to think of which direction you're going.
Let's
I
put it
give. You tell me.
let's put it this way. The villain has his own song, and
Okay.
he does Rocky Road to Dublin. I
Okay.
did not see that coming when they went outside and he's singing that, and all and everyone is an eerie synchronization step. Even Cornbread is doing Irish step dancing. And the whole
Okay.
shot, everyone's in sync, and the shot just pans around the devil. It's that's another one,
Hmm.
because when you heard like all this different music that was in this scene, with that one, it was one particular song, which felt,
Hmm.
which all, came into the whole point of him saying, forget all this discord out here. You join me, we're all singing the same tune. And sure enough,
Hmm.
they were all singing and dancing the same tune. And that was another one where I was just like, okay, I need to see this in IMAX, because I pull it off once, okay, but they pulled it off twice. And the
Interesting.
visuals again were just nuts.
Hmm. The visuals tell that story, and that's interesting. Now, I really didn't really that didn't land initially with me like you just said. So now I gotta watch it two more times.
Yeah, watch it again. Watch it again. And also another one was the song Pick Poor Robin Clean.
Hmm.
I'm listening to that and I'm not like, is this gonna go where I think it's gonna go? And yeah, it did. It did.
Hmm.
That was
The
another one.
the use of the influences of music and I guess it's a good time to talk about the villain, right? This
Yes,
guy,
he killed
uh,
it.
Remick, actor Jack O'Connell. Uh, Again, you watch the trailers and things like that. You leading up, you're like, okay, we understand. It's mostly a black cast, Cougar, writer, director. Of course,
Mhm.
the white guy's the bad guy, right? But it's not cliche like that. It's more, there's a story to his Irish background that Cougar put into the film, uh,
Yes.
and that there's a whole vampire story with that in itself. But great job as the villain, and you see how they're using music as a metaphor, and how he's like when this scene, I mentioned that music scene before, Remix outside, and it's as if the building burns down and he's seeing
Yes.
inside, right?
Mhm.
And he's like, I want that. Like I want that music. And so people could think of it as is it a colonizing type thing? Is that the metaphor? I think Cougar leaves it open enough where assimilation, or it could be the uniqueness, of cultures where it's like, okay, they people are attracted to that. I guess, how did that land with you? The use of music and how, yes, we got this one song out here, because I like how you said you point that out. I'm like, okay, how did I miss that line? And 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 that he's after what they have inside this little juke joint. Just interesting storytelling with that.
Yeah, it's very interesting, especially, that area in the Mississippi Delta. No self-respecting black person wanted to be caught in the juke joint. Uh, that's why the preacher was saying, I don't need to be down there at the juke joint. Nothing good is going on, down there. But that's where people wanted to go to smoke, to drink, to do stuff they have no business doing. And that was the atmosphere. But another point to add to, I don't think it was colonization, or it's assimilation in a way, but I'll add a little bit of color to this. After the Civil War, you had some of the Irish who actually were in the Delta, and a lot of them weren't treated very well. However, since they were seen as white, they were, I would say, tolerated, not accepted, tolerated. And that's why when you hear the song and you hear what Remick was saying about, that same lie got told to your people and got told to my people too. I'm like, dang. So when he's talking about, this whole world out here that you live in does not love you. And it's like, they look down on you, they look down on me. And he said, but if you come here with us, we can all be one happy family together. The way he sets up the case, it's like the difference between the devil you know and the devil you don't know.
Exactly.
And so it's just like, do I want to stay here, or should, I go into this? And Stack was just like, yeah, I've seen it. Everything I know, he knows. And I've seen the future. And it's just like, God, why wouldn't that be attractive? That those are two choices. So I thought that was some really good writing on Ryan Coogler's part, because this isn't, I've seen some people say this, no, this is not a white man bad movie. Yes, you do have a couple of white men bad, but you know what? Because they were.
I mean, that's Jim Crow South. So yeah,
exactly.
You have some purposes.
That was the time. That's what they did. But you had this band who he's just like, you know what? That was not my experience. It's like, I've been looked down on these people too, just as you have, just as they, just all, all of that. So I thought that was extremely creative, because Coogler did not create a victim mentality with this film.
Exactly.
And I think that is why it is doing so well. The setting is credible. So going in that, and like staying within the confines of what could be done at that particular time, is what I think really, really makes this movie pop.
And definitely moments like that, those speeches that you're talking about, that's why I felt like I was in a play, because you have Stack outside. He's already infected, and he's like, yeah, he's trying to plead to Smoke, his twin brother, because Stack still has some of himself in there. So he's like, hey, he's talking to his brother, his twin brother, like, hey, trying to convince him, join this. This is the right way right here. Everything we've been through, what I mean? I'm like, dang, you clowning Coogler with that, like using those moments. And then you have the Chinese couple was split up. The husband was outside trying to convince her, and everything like that. Great scenes, because I thought for a moment I was like, could this get repetitive? But it's like, no, like it's laying out again the thoughts behind the writing of this film, and that's where people can have these conversations. Like, is it an assimilation thing? Is it about, being, true to your culture? Is it, like you said, the devil that you know or don't know? Like, and I think that's kind of what Cougar is saying. And then he's allowing people to just go wild with their theories after that. So
Mhm.
well played with that, and with overall.
Yeah, another thing that I wanna add that added to that, wow, Remick really does want everybody. Remember we saw Grace's husband, and he's just like, "Yeah, baby, just come out here and stay with
Hmm.
us." And then Remick starts talking, but he speaks Mandarin Chinese.
Hmm.
I'm like, that was a deliberate choice by
Hmm.
Coogler. It's just like if you thought, "Hey, I was just speaking English to them." No, he's speaking perfect Mandarin to her, and that's when it's like, okay, this guy is intent on bringing everyone in, which is why later on Grace was like, "That man spoke Chinese to me." He's like,
Right.
No, no, this dude needs to go."
But it's like that's the thing that's wild, that device that Cougar uses, because after he, in a sense, it's making us think with Remick, he turned a Chinese person, so now he gains all
That
his
knowledge.
knowledge,
Mhm.
right? And so that's that whole simulation thing. And then I thought, and this may not have landed with everyone else, but personally, towards the end, when Remick, he finally has his hands on Sammy in
Mhm.
in the water, and Sammy, he's so scared. He's all the last thing he think of is he thinks of his dad, and he's like, "I'm gonna pray." And Remick starts repeating the Our Father prayer with him, and then the other vampires are repeating as well. And I was like, this is an eerie scene, an effective scene, an effective moment. I'm like, this is wild. What's happening in this film? Because Sammy's thinking like, hey, if all I gotta do is pray, and then this is my last resort. And then he's praying the same prayer. It's like, what in the world? I'm like, what's going on? What is going on here? I just thought that was just, it's one of them eerie, scary stories where, you know what I mean, just an effective use of like, hey, I mean, we know that prayer too. Like, what you gonna do? It's crazy. That was a
It's
crazy moment for me.
it was crazy, and one of the things that I thought about while watching it, is like, one, that, yeah, the devil can also quote scripture.
Exactly.
That's what
That's in the scripture. See, he
Yeah.
quote.
Yeah, when he started repeating that, it's just like, is he mocking him? Not
You
not
know,
real not
he had that look
realizing.
too. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just like, "Yeah, okay, we're just gonna, go along with it and, mock you," because he starts to say it, then the rest of the other vampire babies start to say it too,
Yeah.
and that's what got me, because 'cause I'm just
Hmm.
like, it seems like in every horror movie that involves Black people, I know this is probably a generalization, but I don't care, it's what I've seen, um, when they don't see any other way out, they start praying out loud. Okay?
Yep, yep,
Out loud. And yeah, that was a crazy moment, but I really
yep.
did like how that came off, because that just gave me the chills. You're just like, "He
That
gonna
was yeah,
die."
that was very effectively used. I was like, man, because it's a few moments in this film where again, I'm just like, am I hearing and seeing what I'm like? This is, and he starts like submerging him in the water. I'm like, Cougar is clowning with this, with this film. But it's like, but I like it. I like what he's doing right here,
Uh,
because it really shows that quote unquote threat of what Remick is presenting. And that's why I keep falling on the whole assimilation thing. I'm just like, the moral of that, is just interesting conversations that goes with that one. But so with that, you have again the whole climax of the film and everything that happens. Um, I guess that one scene you kind of hinted towards where if there are some supremacists out there that has this type of thinking, you didn't like that last scene with Smoke when he knew the KKK was coming. So he's like, I got some unfinished business. Sammy, you go ahead and go. After then went through a night of horror, Smoke is like, gotta take care of one more thing. And because that's another thing too. Remick tells Smoke, yeah, I turned the what was it, the nephew or son of the KKK, and they coming to kill y'all in the morning. Yeah, Remick told him that. I'm like, it was such like a quick thing, and because at the end of the film, I was like, when Smoke knew they were coming, I'm like, how did he know? I was like, oh yeah, Remick told him. And he loads up, he lays them all out. Because again, they warned the Smoke and Stack twins warned him at the beginning of the film. If y'all come back, if y'all set foot back there, we gonna shoot you down.
Yeah. And dude was like, they know we dead serious.
Yeah. So they were perfectly prepared.
They did, and he took him out like Rambo. If you notice how he was, in the bushes, and then he had, he had guns hidden in the dirt. He had a grenade.
He was like Rambo. I'm like, let's see this movie of Smoke on these missions. Because like this dude.
I said, looking at that, I'm like, man, I'm watching that, and it's just like the reason that he knows how to do all of that he knows is because that he was in the Army. So that, oh my gosh, that just blew my mind when I saw that, the way he went out. I'm sorry, that looked like Rambo.
That was like a Rambo, especially that shot. I don't have the shot, but when he's like, it's all in all the trailers where he has the machine gun
and Tommy gun, and
because I'm like, this film is so many different movies, right? Because it seems so out of context. Yeah, but they set that scene up in the beginning of the film, and this is just the natural progression, actually, of the story. That hey, they step foot back over here. We told y'all what was going to happen if y'all come back over here. So, and that's how that scene goes. And so interesting. It leads to, I would say overall, probably the my favorite arc of the film was Smoke and his wife. And you have that scene.
Oh yeah.
You have that scene. Let's see, what's her name again? The actress Wunmi Musaku plays Annie. She's the witch lady. And this is what I call her affectionately, because I like in these, when it becomes this vampire film, you need someone that knows the rules, right? Because this film, it's so wild how it turns into this, because it's just a story of the Mississippi Delta up to that point. And you got the backgrounds of these characters and the love interests and things. And then once it turns, it's not jarring. That's because that means it's a well-made film. And you needed that person, and she played that person where she's like, okay, here are the rules, guys. What this film has become. She was great.
She was wonderful. And I like the fact that they said, we don't need you bringing that Bayou voodoo here. That's another link too, because if you notice, when she's, dead, she's in white. The baby has a white blanket. In the church in the beginning, they all had white on. In the Yoruba African tradition, it's like wearing white is actually a sign of mourning, from what I've seen. And Yoruba, of course, Black people of like Yoruban descent, except from Nigeria, got to the Delta by way of the Caribbean, by the way of Haiti, and when they had the the Haitian Revolution. So that spread into New Orleans. So that stuff is real. When she's working roots and everything, I'm like, Yeah, my grandma said, no, we don't be messing with that. She was like, you guys stay prayed up because somebody would try to work roots on you. And I'm like, yeah, that's a real thing,
It's a real thing.
folks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Real
Yeah,
thing.
dude.
But I just saw
Man.
that. I'm like, wow, that is dead on accurate.
Yeah, and a wonderful arc with this. Like I say, he has that. You could call he had a vision of her, or was it a real experience? Again,
Mm-hmm.
Cougar leaves us open for people, and because when after Smoke is shot, he's standing over the last supremacist there, and he's like, give me a cigarette, right? And then that's when he sees the vision. But the guy, all he doing is looking up and seeing Smoke just looking off in the distance somewhere, right? He doesn't know, what he's seeing. So it's left open. But it's a nice, again, storytelling, because you mentioned when Smoke came in town, he went straight to that grave, because
Mm-hmm.
the son died. And he's there again with his wife. And that's like that's a nice knit up arc right there of Smoke and that
Mm-hmm.
character. Because we didn't mention, when they're in the middle of the juke joint fight, she gets bit and she tells him, she promised me if I get bit, don't let me turn, because you got
Oh,
released. You
yep.
got release me, you can't let me trapped in there, So it's so much with this arc with these characters here. There's so much.
Uh,
I'll tell you, that's good storytelling overall. We touched on Stack and the Haley Steinfeld character. That's another arc in itself. And again, I think this stuff is open ended because Cougar's a true storyteller. He's not he don't have to spoon feed us everything. You just gotta kind of watch it and understand. A lot of the answers are in the film, for a lot of this stuff as well too. But these are the markings of a well-made film, Lorena. Like, I can't say it enough.
mm-mm. I mean, it's just the film overall is just masterful. I mean, the time flew by, honestly.
Mhm.
You were not even conscious. And that's what happens when a movie is so good. You were not conscious of how much time has passed. Or if you look to see how much time has passed, it's like, wow, it's been that much. I didn't even realize it. And that's really a hallmark of a good filmmaker when you have the audience so invested, they're not conscious of the passage of time. They're just conscious on how is this going to end up? You know, how is this going to end? That's all you're focused on. But yeah, I said this film was going to grow legs when word of mouth um, got out about it because it was
Mhm.
actually that good. And this film, not only is it one of my favorite films now, it's in, I would say, my top 10 for horror movies as well because of that dimension
Mhm.
that's that's in it. And
Mhm.
great job by Coogler, because after Wakanda Forever, I wasn't too sure. um I d- I was, no, but I'm like, okay, we'll
That was
see.
on Disney though, right? Like that was on Marvel, I
That
should
is
say.
that is true. That's true. It was on it was, honestly, it was a film that should not have been
No,
made at that point because it was
no.
rushed. I think, like you were saying with Disney, Disney wanted it, you know, to get out there, and that's what they did. So it wasn't really, Coogler wasn't really in the right headspace for,
Mm.
obvious reasons to do that. But yeah, with this film, I'm just like, yeah, he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing and
Mhm.
has pulled off a film that, not the little kids, keep the little kids at home. I know some of y'all
Yeah,
sneak little
this
kids, and
ain't
to
for
this
kids at
this
all.
is this is for grown folks only, okay?
Yeah,
With
yeah,
emphasis on grown folks. All right.
yeah.